A veteran can work with anybody. They bring an adaptability to a job that is very hard to find from somebody that hasn't had that diversity of experience and exposure. Having made those connections and built those relationships and worked alongside those individuals to get the job done, that's a skill and experience that most every veteran will be able to bring to an employer.
How do we know that we're being successful, right, as an organization? And how do we count the success stories? And we really didn't have a way to do that. So once we brought Noel onto our program, we really started to get that ball rolling. So no longer was I saying what I like to do. We started seeing it come to fruition.
The toughest thing is that isolation that you feel, and understanding that there are resources out there. You're not an island. You're not supposed to be able to do everything well on your own. It's important to rely on your own strengths, but also recognize where some of your shortcomings are and how do you strengthen yourself as a candidate.
What's going on, friends? Welcome back to another episode of the Love Local Chicagoland podcast. My name is Jason Stallard, the host here, but today I got a co-host. I'm really excited to be able to work in partnership with Noel from Roll Call Chicagoland, my friends. They do so many amazing things for our local veteran community, and we're here today at Bellwork Chicagoland, where Love Local Studio is at, being able to support them and collaborate them and help them amplify their voice. If you've been following us for a long time, you know that we believe that we're stronger together as community members. And I think this message here with Noel is going to tie right into that. They're very much at the core of what they do. They think we're stronger together too. They say it a little bit differently, but you're going to hear a lot of the same verbiage. When we work together, when we come together in community and we support each other and we come to a place where we feel like we belong, we all could truly change the world from our own neck of the woods. And it's a big part of what Love Local Chicagoland is. And I'm super excited to be able to have a co-host here. Noel, this is fun. This is your first podcast.
Yes.
That's a big deal.
I love podcasts.
Yeah, that's a good
my
start.
First podcast.
That's a good start. Well, I'm honored to collaborate with you. I feel like I got behind the scenes a little bit when before I met you and Matt, which we'll have here on in a minute from the village of Hoffman Estates, just talking about you and the passion you have for the work that you do to be able to support and serve our veterans. You're a veteran yourself, right?
I am. I'm an Air Force veteran, and I'm a former military spouse as well, so I've experienced it from both angles. And now I'm a civilian, and so is my husband. So we're making Chicagoland home.
Yeah, well, that's a beautiful thing. And you're for one, thank you for your service. Thank your husband as well. To me, when I got to know you through a few different calls as we planned this conversation, your passion just like comes through through everything. It was the virtual calls, the Google Meets, whatever you want to call, but meeting you in person, that passion is still here. Seeing you run around this really large event where there's tons of vendors and businesses here, along with people looking for jobs. You're like, you might not see it, but you're kind of floating. I love seeing when people like really love what they do, especially when it's in service of others. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you for this collaboration. For people that don't know about Roll Call Chicagoland, who are you and who do you serve, and why does this organization exist?
So Roll Call Chicagoland existed well before I ever came on board. It's 9 years old. It started off as a small veterans group run by veteran students, and they got together regularly to collaborate, to meet, to commiserate, and then it grew. And it went from a school-led organization to a networking organization that met in local restaurants and pubs around Chicagoland. I came on board about 2.5 years ago, started attending events. It was during the pandemic that my husband got really involved. And he kept going, after the pandemic was over, he said, you should come. I was like, I'm so busy with work. I don't have time. one time he said, no, you should come and meet these people. They're great. And I showed up. Jim Elliott, who's with Walgreens, he was the first person I met. He was there as a recruiter. And I was looking for work. I really was looking for work when I found Roll Call. And I soon got sucked in, started coming to the events monthly, meeting people, and recognized that I wanted to be part of it. I'm the kind of person who, okay, I raise my hand and say, can you help me find a job? But then at the same time, I want to help other people at the same time. Yeah. So I'm circumventing your question to say that what Roll Call is a community. It helps veterans, military affiliated people, so spouses, children of military people, helps them with, networking, connection, camaraderie. Everyone gets something different from our events. Mm-hmm. So
mentorship
is key. It's crucial. And that is what Roll Call has grown to be, is not just a monthly networking event, but dedicated volunteers who care to meet with veterans who need to find work, who want to find the next move, who can lift them up.
Yeah, that's what life's about, is lifting up. And when you could come together in community with people that might not know exactly what you've been through, but maybe have a little taste of it. Mm-hmm. And you come in and you could support each other and you could have each other's backs. And you lead with that. To me, when I think of military, people that have been in the military, I think of a servant leader in many cases. I really think we could change the world. And I think military is one community, but there's a lot of communities that are like that. But my point is, when you join together, when you help uplift each other, game on.
Well, I want to add something.
Please, yeah.
And I know I'm talking about veterans and military affiliated people, but another crucial portion of our community are civilian supporters. So employers, resource providers, those who want to be part of our community do not have to serve in the military.
Can you say podcast host too, just so we could
and
say
podcast
it?
hosts.
Cool. I always wish I served in the military. I had a heart defect that kept me from doing that. But I always felt like my father was in the military, my grandfather was in the military. When you raise the flag and you put it was more than just putting the flag out on a weekend. It meant something, and I always carried that with me. So I felt with my faith that God put me here to serve veterans in some ways. And I feel like getting to meet you, I'm like, well, what does the future have to hold? Because to me, I think supporting our veterans as a civilian, to me, is something that all of us as civilians need to be able to do. It's a very brave thing to be able to do, to sign your name on a dotted line. Really losing control of what could happen because you're going to go serve and fight for our country. That is courageous in more ways than I could ever imagine for my own self. So to support in a way, and to be helpful in a way, and here as a podcast host, it's a true honor. You talked about this is more than a networking organization. It's something much more. Why has mentorship become such an important part of Roll Call's mission?
Because veterans often have a hard time asking for help. And so if you have an organization that, from the get-go says, we have people who are dedicated to help you, you can meet with someone and not feel that burden of asking for help. They're already there. Veterans are so willing to give of their time, but so reticent to ask for help. The mentorship piece is crucial because the job search is a lonely place. Your resume floats out in space, perhaps partially written by AI, then analyzed by AI, and then maybe you never hear from someone again. But to have someone there throughout your job search or transition or whatever it is, It's so crucial. And that's something that goes beyond the networking. You make those connections at networking.
I was going to say, it's the connections. That's the piece of it. Like, world's buzzing around AI and everything that's out there right now. But to me, it doubles down on the soft skills. And when I think about networking, you just had Raghu Sundara do a panel up there, which is a friend of mine. I own Village Networking with him as well. The power of networking and connection is more power than any resume that AI could write for you. Somebody could stand up for you, speak up for you, especially if you don't want to be able to showcase that stuff about yourself, which is, I would think, a part of what you're saying of like, oh, I'm just here, I need a job. Like, you're not, but you're actually like really good, but you're humble along that way.
There's another part of mentorship that I think is really important, and I think we'll hit on this later with Martin Fernandez, who will be coming
He's awesome.
on.
Yeah.
It's about holding someone accountable. So if you have someone who says, okay, take my feedback and run with it, I want to see what you're going to do with that feedback. Like the mentorship is very much like a one-to-one teacher. Someone who wants to follow up, hold you accountable. It's really easy to make excuses as a single person floating out there in the world trying to find a job.
Yeah,
So I
definitely
think that's
is.
also powerful.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's not, when you leave the military, it can't be easy going back into civilian life. And to be able to have an organization like yours to support, have their back, and you do it together in community, to me is such a blessing for our veterans and other community members as well. Because at the end of the day, I think that makes our communities a stronger place to live. This event represents a partnership. You have Roll Call, you have Village of Hoffman Estates is a part of it, educational institutions and community organizations. Why was it so important to bring all these groups together?
Well, one organization doesn't have all the answers, and one organization doesn't have all the resources. So something like this is a force multiplier. Our partnership, all of these organizations, the Village of Hoffman Estates, Bellwork Chicagoland, and Roll Call Chicagoland, meant that it wasn't going to be a regular resource fair that veterans go to regularly, and it wasn't going to be a job fair where you have employers. It was going to be something active that got people, it pulled people in. And you can't do that as a single organization. I think we got the magic ingredients here for something big and something that we can reproduce here.
Connection and collaboration.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. I couldn't have asked for a better partner than Matt Galloway with the Village of Hoffman Estates. He's a rock star. Sorry, I can't move to your village. I'm on the other side of the world. But you all rock. You've been great partners. I'm so grateful.
He's pretty awesome. Our business is here in Hoffman Estates, and he's pretty awesome. And Kevin, which he works with in the economic development side as well, is just they're just great human beings that want to do good and serve. What I love about Matt is we were about to have him here on the show. Is like he started with Roll Call. And networking and building relationships, joining together in community, and you got employed and supported with the help of Roll Call. Now, like you see him, and he's flourishing, and he's serving our community. He's a veteran himself, and he's serving our community now from an economic development side, which to me is just such a cool full circle moment. So to be able to get some of his wisdom here is something that has me really excited for. What else should people know about Matt as we jump in?
I'm like a hamster in a wheel, and Matt is the one who like slows the wheel and says, it's time to take a breath. He brings calm where I bring a lot of frenetic energy. He's very organized and thoughtful. He's just a fantastic partner in every way.
Yeah, well, excited to be able to have him on the show here in a moment. I have one last question for you. What do you hope veterans and job seekers, employers experience today, but not just today, as they leave and go out into the world too?
Well, I'm going to circle back to something you said, something I've heard time and time again. Mary Oshana, who works with the Village of Libertyville, said it kind of like this. I'm paraphrasing, but she said, veteran employment and veterans issues are economic development issues. They're one and the same. And so my hope is that not only are veterans going to make great connections and maybe find their next job, other job seekers as well. This is open to the public. So make connections with the leading industries right now in Chicagoland, but also the employers are going to see the wealth of talent that's out there. This is economic development. It helps the village here flourish. It helps all of Chicagoland flourish. Mm-hmm. So I think everyone's going to walk away energized. Maybe they take away a piece of some of the programming we have, some great advice for their job search or how they're going to advance their careers. Maybe they're just going to have a couple great leads for a new job. And some of these companies are going to be so wowed that they're going to want to come back and do this next year and help the next batch of job seekers.
Connecting, collaborating, and
connecting and collaborating. Yes,
yeah, you can't really go wrong. Yeah. So, super excited to have Matt on the show. Thanks for having this part of the conversation. Love hearing a little bit more about Roll Call.
Thanks, and I'm so happy you brought me on. I do have a question for you, though.
Please.
Love Local Chicagoland talks about uplifting, connecting, and becoming stronger together. Why did you feel this conversation today was important to help amplify that message?
Yeah, it's definitely a big part of what we're about. I think hearing you talk for the first time was like, oh, these are my people. They want to make they're in their niche, and they want to make the world better than they found it. So I was super excited. I think we started talking 2-3 months ago about this, but to be able to help amplify voices like yours, voices like Matt, Roll Call in general. We have Martin here coming up and Andy, just people that are doing the work and that are showing up every day, not just for themselves, but for other people. Mm-hmm. Like that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. That's what fires me up to build what we're building here in collaboration with cool people in the community with Love Local Chicagoland. So thanks for asking. Noel, I feel like Matt, we've talked him up already. We have. I hope his head didn't get too big.
Does he need to talk anymore? We talked for, no, kidding. You talk for him.
I think he could talk a little bit more. He's got a cool story.
He does.
We said he started with Roll Call, now look at him, working with the Village of Hoffman Estates. So Matt, to me, when I heard the story that you started here with Roll Call, it was like, how cool is that? And you're still showing up to serve in the community. And I had respect for you beforehand, but even gained more respect because I felt like I saw a lot of your character come out during that part of the conversation. Take us back. It was 9 years ago, so you must have been pretty young. Where were you professionally when you first became connected with Roll Call?
Yeah, I was a student veteran. So going to Northern Illinois University and was quickly involved in the Student Veterans of America chapter there.
Not to cut you off, but I am going to cut you off. What line of military did you serve in too, just to get that out there?
Why?
No, Why? What line of military did you serve in?
I was in the Navy.
Okay.
Yep. Cool. So I served 4 years in the Navy.
Awesome. Thank you. Keep going with your story. Just want to get that in there for context.
So I was involved with the Student Veterans of America chapter. My classmates felt obliged to elect me as president. I did not seek that position, but apparently they thought I could do something. But through that, met a great team from DeVry University that was kind of the mastermind behind Roll Call Chicagoland, and started going to their networking events. Really started as just networking. And then as I got along in my college career, I started taking it a little more seriously in the career aspect. I need to learn how to write a resume. And through the network at Roll Call, I got some great templates, learned how to write a resume, and really do credit Roll Call for providing me that education and resource. And from there, got into local government through a Master's of Public Administration at NIU, and have always continued striving to serve. And I actually got an emphasis in nonprofit management with my Master's of Public Administration with the intent to go into nonprofit work. I learned that nonprofit work isn't always the most stable career path, and found local government is a pretty stable opportunity, and still gives me the opportunity to give back to the community.
Yeah, it helps you to me, as I hear you say that, it helps you, some natural skills. I see you're a natural connector, and you don't forget where you came from. So I look at this event, and we talked about partnership and collaboration, and we need people that served in our military working for our local governments and many other jobs too. To me, from what I see from the outside in, it's the mindset shift. I don't know if you would agree with that, but yeah, absolutely. What are you thinking that you need to ask him?
Well, so I'm going to modify this a little bit.
Please.
Ask my own question. Well, kind of a hybrid question. It was something my husband said this week. It was really interesting. The words we use about military service, getting out, terminal leave, it suggests an end, an abrupt end, and not a shift. And I think most veterans will say it's a transition, and there's always a transition. It doesn't really quite end. And so you were talking a little bit about transition from school life to finding what you're going to do. I know you went to school as an adult rather than straight out of high school, and then you transitioned into this field that you care so much about. Why is it important for people to understand that building relationships and developing a career can take time?
I think of a panel that we just had with Ragu, who's with Always Be Connecting. And a big message from that is moving from transactional engagement to relationship building. And relationships take time. And a lot of people, I think, get a misconception of networking that it's just transactional. Like, I'm looking for a job. You have a job. Let's connect. Here's my resume. Without really stopping to say, hi, this is who I am. These are the things that are important to me. What's your organization do? Maybe there's a middle ground there that we can work together and both feel fulfilled. To really get to that point takes a lot of time. It takes personal effort to understand your own desires and the things that make you tick. And hopefully you take that and use it to guide yourself to the right opportunities. This opportunity was really born from those relationships. I know with Roll Call, it's been 9 years on and off. I don't attend every meetup, and would say I'm lucky to get to a meetup every 6 months. But the connections I've made through Roll Call are some of the employers here today, and that's been 9 years of relationship building. And now it's an opportunity for me to give my network opportunities to find employees or find job opportunities. And that's not something you can just do by showing up to an event every couple of months and never connecting with somebody to build a relationship. You really have to build the relationship. And I've seen these people through Roll Call, my friends that have gone on whole different kind of journeys, and it's so cool to have them here today at the event contributing in their own way. It's pretty incredible.
That's awesome, man. We talked about connection, collaboration, partnership. And earlier in the conversation, I think about what you're saying, and be relational, not transactional. And that's where magic happens. And it's a big part of why we think loving local is so important, is for those reasons. When you get to connect with somebody, when you get to build a relationship with somebody, I know what makes you tick, right? And you're in community together. All of a sudden, with that mindset, and it becomes contagious. Other people learn it too. Through that, it's where positive movements come from. That's where we uplift people in our community. That's where we help people in our community. So I love that outlook, and I love it's not about being transactional. It's about being relational. When you care for somebody and you show up for somebody, and they reciprocate in their own loving and giving way, whatever that is. It's not why you do it, but it happens organically. The ripple effect of that is powerful. So you work in economic development for Village of Hoffman Estates, as we mentioned. What does your role involve, and how does workforce development for veterans fit into economic development, in your opinion?
Yeah, as you pointed out earlier, I'm a connector. And so much of economic development is connecting the dots, whether that be for a small business owner looking for a retail spot in the community, knowing what retail is available, to be able to connect that retailer with that spot. Or somebody looking for jobs and knowing what companies in the area have job openings to be able to refer them. It really is about making the connection and building those bridges. There's so many layers of this event that check the box off for my job. So Bell Works is a huge redevelopment project that the Village of Hoffman Estates is really lucky to have. It's a very unique redevelopment that it's almost like a mythical thing you hear of, mixed use redevelopment in economic development. That's like the unicorn you try to get. This is a 1.6 million square foot corporate campus. It's hard to imagine what to do with so much real estate. So having Bell Works and Somerset developers be able to transform a corporate headquarters into what it is today and help facilitate workforce development events is pretty awesome. And so there's the real estate development part of economic development that this event kind of helps with. Then there's the workforce development, getting job seekers in front of employers that are actively looking for jobs. Some of them are actually in the building that, hey, okay, we really like your resume. Let's show you around the office. That's an opportunity that is happening right now. Awesome. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, now I'm going to pivot and ask you a little bit more about veterans and the job market. What can veterans bring to local employers beyond the traditional phrases people often hear about discipline and leadership? Those are often the stereotypes used, but I think you'll agree that veterans bring so much more.
One of the things that just always blew me away in the military was how different people from all over the world were put together, trained together, and relied upon each other to get the job done. A veteran can work with anybody, and they bring an adaptability to a job that is very hard to find from somebody that hasn't had that diversity of experience and exposure. I grew up in the cornfields of Illinois. I never really experienced diversity. And going into the service just exposed me to everything. And it was incredible. I worked alongside people that grew up in real hard parts of LA or were immigrants from different countries that came here and loved America so much that they're going to serve in the military. And having made those connections and built those relationships and worked alongside those individuals to get the job done, that's a skill and experience that most every veteran will be able to bring to an employer.
Yeah. Well said. So this is such a full circle moment for you. And to me, I'm like, well, what's in his head? Like, he walking around this space, it's a beautiful building here at Bellworks. He started here. Now he's helping run and build the events. He works for the village of Hoffman. He's helping all these people. What is it to you? What does it mean to be able to help create opportunities for other people now that you have come full circle?
Yeah, it's giving opportunities to other people. I'm in a very fortunate and privileged position that I'm allowed to be able to give back. But that comes from identifying the opportunity. Which this all grew from semi-selfish outreach to Roll Call, just wanting to have one of their networking events in town. Like, hey, there's a cool space. And Noel is a visionary and really has taken Roll Call from the monthly meetup, which absolutely is great and serves its purpose. But when I showed her Bellworks, she's like, let's go big. This is
I like her.
This is a huge space, huge opportunity. What can we do? And from there, it just became this really creative, exciting, all right, let's see what we can do. And it's like, well, let's bring employers and resources and program. I'm like, yes, absolutely, let's do this. So for me, just creating those opportunities for others to be able to find the opportunities they need, or the resources they need. This is more than just a job fair. This is a resource fair. This is a educator fair. This is a networking event for people to start building those relationships with colleagues and employers.
Yeah, love that. What are you thinking?
How do partnerships and collaboration on a local level help us make our communities stronger and places we want to live?
I think local connection is the strongest and easiest to activate. Having worked in the military, we know hierarchies in big government, federal government. Those initiatives can be hard or slow to move, the policies and things. On the local level, it's a lot more agile. So making connections and working together at a grassroots level, there's a lot more agility. That's where an event like this, it can be more difficult the larger government that's involved. So that's where I think, it's a great opportunity for, me as a community economic developer to be able to partner with a location, Bellworks, great location. And then Roll Call Chicagoland. You are really the programming piece, and being able to connect all that and then have the event, and people are walking around talking to employers. It's already a success. It's really cool.
It's really cool. It's there's power in local, and I think it goes, in my opinion, goes back to the policies. Those things are different, but it comes back to a relational piece, and it's how you show up for people. To me, I gotten to get to know you both throughout this process and the planning process, and the partnership that is between Roll Call and Village of Hoffman seems very, very special. That's my words, but. How do you guys think it's special? Because it's obviously there's a synergy here that is like, you're already talking about the next year's event.
I've been talking about next year's event
Yeah.
like the last couple months.
Yeah, we're definitely friends. Cole's producing it right now, but I go into the future a lot too. But from your perspective, what do you think?
I don't know that it is special, because Roll Call exists outside of Hoffman Estates. Libertyville, they're working closely with Roll Call on their meetups.
So it's local government. I mean, rephrase the question. So with local government, would it be special then for you, or would it be a great partnership?
Yeah, it's definitely a special partnership, and it's a great partnership. But it's not exclusive. And that's where local communities that want to highlight veterans or serve veterans, or provide resources for veterans, they have the opportunity to contact Roll Call. What's unique and special here is that I was able to connect the dots and, build off of my 9 years of knowing Roll Call, and, work with Noel and her vision of what Roll Call can be. To really do something big and exciting. That's what's special and unique about this opportunity. But other communities can do it too.
Yeah, that's well said. What's your thoughts when you hear him say that?
So I've always had an issue with the word special because I don't think it means anything. I think there's something really unique with this partnership because, like we talked about earlier about transactional things, I think often organizations, and I'll just say that generally, organizations still look at it as transactional. I do this thing for you, you'll do this thing for me. In this case, it's not that way. We care so deeply about the same thing and making this successful that that's what makes it unique. And that this means that we'll probably do it next year. I think so.
I hope so.
You already started planning, so you better.
Yeah, I'm already planning it. But we did all the work to do it next year, right? Yeah. All the hard work is now behind us. We worked together, developed a plan. We got all sorts of stakeholders involved. We're just going to build on that next year. And to not do it next year would be a waste because we've done all this work together.
Yeah. You got the blueprint, you got the systems ready to go.
So I couldn't be happier with this partnership. And I think it's really a true partnership because we're not looking at it as a transaction today and see it tomorrow.
You guys, you believe we're stronger together. I hear that coming out of your mouths in different ways. And to me, I think it's I'm honored for our team to be here as a collaborator with all of you as you are doing great things for our local veterans in our community. So thank you, Matt, for being on the show, and keep doing you, man, and bringing support and love and economic development to the Hoffman Estates area. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, so Matt was just as awesome as you said he would be. Martin, you have so many great things to say about him too. Tell our community a little bit about Martin from your perspective and why he has a seat at the table today to amplify his voice.
Oh, Martin, you're the dad I never had. No, I'm kidding. No, I have a dad. I do love him, but you're kind of like a father figure in some ways.
That's nice.
To me. Martin runs the mentorship program with Roll Call, and it was his brainchild to start a mentorship program and start doing something beyond the networking events. I love Martin's perspective because he just says it how it is. It's very down to earth and practical, and I appreciate working with him.
Yeah. You talked about him being practical and about him just showing up and showing up in a giving and a serving way, which got me really excited to be able to really be able to pull out his story. What made you personally passionate about expanding Roll Call from primarily a networking organization into more, mentorship and having the mentorship program?
Sure. I'll tell you, I was so impressed with Roll Call. I found a job when I was out of work through the Roll Call committee. I found myself at the very end of just giving up, okay, I've gone to job fair after job fair, a couple of interviews, right? And I just happened to find Roll Call, and through the first meeting, I made a contact that after a couple, 2 or 3 more events, I furthered that relationship, and I got a job, right? And I thought, what an amazing opportunity this is, Roll Call thing, right? And so I volunteered, kept coming back month after month after month, and then I started to think, how do we know that we're being successful? All of the different things that we've gone on, the people that have made contacts, how do we know that we're being successful, right, as an organization? And how do we count the success stories? And we really didn't have a way to do that. So I started, to expand on this. And I started to just plant the seeds as to what we really want to do. And honestly, once we brought Noel on to our program, we really started to get that ball rolling. So no longer was I saying what I like to do. We started seeing it come to fruition, right? And a lot of that really does come from Noel's efforts behind it, right? So just like she says, I have all these ideas and stuff, but I didn't have the time to really get the traction behind it, right? And she's kind of helped put the program together based on, some of my goals, wishes, dreams, right? And so, but that's really kind of the impetus of where we started and how we want to get to, and we're still just, I would still say we're still in the embryonic stages, but look at what we're doing here today, right? So, and we've been a great team.
It's pretty amazing, and as you were talking, you guys made a good team.
Yeah, I think so too, right? And I really appreciate what Noel brings to the table, right? And so, and then all of a sudden we just have more and more people joining the board. We've made a lot of changes to the board, and with that came more progression, right? And so it's really good stuff to see, over 9 years, right? I think almost 9 years now that we've been together and as an organization, but I've only been involved for probably about 5, 6, almost 7 years, probably, somewhere around that time frame.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, Martin, what were you seeing and hearing from veterans that made you realize that Roll Call needed more than just networking?
Yeah. I'll tell you one story. There was a gentleman in the crowd one day after I was giving one of my little speeches, and I said something that resonated, and I said that, in the job hunt, right, failure is not an option, right? That all of us are from a military background, and we are not geared towards failure, right? We have to figure out a way that we don't give up, we keep pursuing it. And there was a gentleman in the audience, a veteran, more senior person who came up afterwards and said, I was just about to give up, think about retiring, right? But he's like, you inspired me, right? And that failure is not an option. And later on, he came back and said, I didn't give up. And shortly after, he got a job. And I was like, how powerful is that? How we don't even know sometimes the impact we have. We could share stories, talk to people, but how do we know? And then that's when I started thinking okay, how many other veterans have we helped? And so that's where it kind of came from. It's like, let's start counting, let's start tracking, let's start supporting more intentionally, right?
It sounds like I hear like KPIs. I think like
Exactly.
A business, you're like, okay,
Thank
these
you.
are how we make decisions based off of
Right.
these metrics
Right.
that together you're able to put in
Exactly.
place. When a veteran comes into the mentorship program, what are some of the biggest challenges they're usually facing, in your opinion?
I think that, unfortunately, I think veterans are thinking that we're going to hand them a job, right? And then what really we're doing is we're saying, this is how we're gonna teach you how to fish, right? Kind of thing, right? We're not gonna give you any fish, right? We're gonna teach you how to fish. And so through that, I think there's a little bit of frustration, right? There's oftentimes, like, I don't know what to do next, right? And I think that you never think of a veteran being needing help, right? That we're all a bunch of go-getters. We all know how to accomplish the mission and stuff. But the military trains us in a way to say, like, a lot of things are provided for us, right? Mm-hmm. That infrastructure is provided for us. So you've heard the stories, like guys coming out of Vietnam, right? And they come back to the civilian world and they don't know what to do. This isn't for me. And they go back into the military, right? Because that infrastructure isn't there. Well, it's the same thing when they transition out and want to go find a job. They don't know what they have to do to find a job. It's a different environment, right? And vernacular is even different. Like, I tell the story of, I use it as an example more than anything, is if you're a tank commander, let's say, in the military, you're not just going to get out and become a tank commander for the civilian world. Where are you going to find tanks, right? But I try to help people understand that you're not just a tank commander, you're a supervisor, right? You organize, you coordinate, you lead, you train, right? You're a supervisor, you're a manager, right? Those skills translate. Mm-hmm. The military may not teach you that, right? They just put you in charge of multi-million dollars worth of material and equipment, and now you have to execute, right? Well, now you get out to the civilian world and you execute. You're a supervisor, but you got to translate those skills. And so some of our team are able to help veterans do that.
So, Martin,
yes,
you believe in lifting people up without doing everything for them. Mm-hmm. This is why you're here today, by the way.
Yes.
Why is empowering veterans to become self-sufficient such an important part of your approach?
Yeah. I think it's so powerful that, people need to learn that they can do whatever they want when they want it, right? But they have to plan it. They got to organize themselves. They got to think through it. Think of all the potential roadblocks that they can run into, right? No one else is going to do it for you, right? And so that is the reason that I want to share some of the things that I've learned over the years, but it's not like I created them. Other people taught me, right? And so I guess it's that old pay it forward kind of thing, right? But for the most part, when you can empower somebody and they learn that they can do it on their own, they're going to do other things on their own. They're going to accelerate so much in their career when they learn that I can do it, right? And that it's okay to reach out to other people to get a mentor. I've had many mentors in my life, and I didn't realize how important it was to be a mentor. And I never went to somebody and said, hey, would you be a mentor to me and show me how to do the things that you do, right? I've never had to do that. For some reason, people just have taken me under their wing and helped me along the way. And now I want to do the same thing, right? Although I will be much more intentional about it. But there's something about certain individuals that you can tell when somebody wants to be mentored, right? And so when we interview some of our veterans on our intake forms and such, right? They'll tell you, right, through certain phrases, through certain things that they do or say, that they're ready for a mentor. Some people are clearly not ready for a mentor. They have too much infrastructure building that they need to do, themselves. However, certain people will be like, okay, just direct me. Give me some place to go. What's the next thing you think I should do, right? Some people are self-directed. Other people you need to push a little bit, right? So, but I like to encourage people like, look, I'm going to tell you some things that you can do. I'm not going to do the work for you, right? But you will need to do the homework. And that's what I do. I give them some homework things to do, but it's like, they would have never done that on their own, right? I ask people sometimes, pick 3 industries that you want to work in, right? You could be in engineering, manufacturing, supply chain, whatever. And then I want you to find 3 companies in each one of those industries that you can see yourself working for. Go find that, right? And when you can find that, you begin the networking process, right? If I know that I want to work for Abbott Labs or something like that, then I look in that industry, find Abbott, and through like LinkedIn or some of these networks, I may ask the people, do you know anybody at Abbott, right? And are they hiring? Maybe they're not hiring today, but I'd love to introduce you to somebody at Abbott that I know. In fact, somebody from Abbott is part of our Roll Call organization, right? And so all of a sudden, the power of networking really starts to come together, right? And they see that. And they're like, I get it. I'm putting the pieces together, right?
Yeah, you're speaking a lot to me here, and I think about the power of network. And your network, Raghu says it. He was up doing a panel earlier. He's gotten a few drops here with his name, but he talks about your network is your net worth. And at first I'm like, well, what? And then now I've seen it unfold over the last 5 or 6 years being connected with him. And it's because if you know somebody that is at Abbott, or if you have a friend that knows somebody that's at Abbott, all of a sudden that helps your net worth, not just fiscally, but how you feel purposeful, with it on earth here too. To me, I really loved how you said the mentorship, like not everybody's ready for it. But if you're ready for it, like you're the fast track to getting to where you need to go.
Sure.
And to me, this is my perspective, but like I had 2 phases of life. One area where I didn't want mentorship, and I was like this lone cowboy, thought I knew everything. And I got humbled, and I believe in mentors for anything and everything that I do now, because everything speeds up. Because you learn so much more quicker. You're not learning it all yourself. Right. You just gotta sometimes let your pride go, and that was me. And it was my issue. I'm sure there's other ones too. But when you let that go and you allow somebody that's been there before to help guide and support you, everything else goes quicker, and you grow together. And you grow as a person that needs to learn about something. You learn, and you're gonna be better for getting that mentorship and that support.
There's a saying, it's like when you're green, you're growing, and when you're ripe, you're almost dead, right? It's like, it's so, you like that? So the whole challenge in life is to always stay green. What am I learning? What don't I know? How much more can I learn? Right. I had one of my original mentors taught me that you got to start reading. Right. I hated reading when I was in high school. Hated reading. Right. All this To Kill a Mockingbird and all these old books and stuff like that, which now I've read and I've actually liked them. But he taught me to read about leadership and about corporations and about a lot of different topics. And he gave me my first book, and I think it was 7 Habits, right, of highly successful people.
Highly effective people.
Stephen
people. Covey,
Yep, Stephen Covey. And he gave me the book, and I didn't read it for like a month, 2 months or something like that. And he would ask me, he's like, how do you like the book? Right. And I'm like, I've been busy. I didn't read the book. And then finally, after I procrastinated for so long, he was like, look, if you're not going to read the book, like, you don't need my help, right? I'm offering you the first step of help, right? And so I got a little offended, right?
Yeah, you got to put in the work, right?
I'm like, all right, I'll read the freaking book, right? And so I started reading it, and then I couldn't put it down, right? And I was like, wow, this is exactly what I need, right? This is exactly what I do. And this is exactly what I've been missing in my career and in my personal development. And so I'd read the book, and then I was like, what's the next book? What do I read now, right? Because I got this, 7 Habits, right? Sharpen the saw, got it, right? Still do it, right? And he's like, all right, I'll give you the next book, right? Mm-hmm. Out of his personal library, right? And so, but that's what a mentor does, right? He would kick me in the pants when I needed to, right? And he would help me understand things, and he would coach me and train me through difficulties, right? And so, and that's what we try to do here with our veterans, right? They're all come from different walks of life, different stages of their career development or whatever. And you have to try to envision where they are. And then I try to think about, was I ever there in that position? And what can I share? Mm-hmm. Sometimes I have no recollection, no connection to where they are at. And I'm like, who do I know that could be a better mentor to this individual, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'll call Noel. Noel, who do you know? This guy is like in the finance industry. I don't know anything about finance or how to coach somebody into that career field. Oh, you know what? Let's talk to Chris. Let's talk to Bob or Joe or Mary.
Go back
right?
to your network. Yeah.
And we go back to the network. And then we connect people, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, I've done my job, right, as far as a connector. But now they have a good mentor that can help them into the next stage so that they don't have to try and invent the wheel that's already invented, right?
Right.
Yeah. Another of my favorite sayings is steal the wheel. Don't be afraid to steal it. Somebody else has done it already.
For sure.
Yeah.
Get it, use it, and then if you can improve on it yourself, have at it.
I call it R&D, rip off and deploy.
Nice. I love it.
Kind of switching gears from the mentorship side. Why can it be difficult for veterans to recognize and communicate the value of their military experience to civilian employers, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think it's because we use a different language, right? It's I don't care if we say certain things in the military and we perform things in almost a proprietary way that it's difficult to make that transition sometimes, right? The interesting thing now, like today's military is getting very similar, like even when I was leaving the military, they used to call us, we used to go to training to become a professional soldier, right? As a leader, you were developing skills that are common in civilian workforce, right? And we started to change our language and use more civilian terminology, right? People would have slide decks and presentations and do organizational stuff that was very much what, eventually I learned was being done in the civilian world. And so to be a professional soldier helped to minimize the differences in our language. I happen to be in telecommunications in the military. I was a signal operator, signal corps, right? And you're like, signal, well, what's signal, right? Well, it's telecom, right? Telecom translates into the civilian world, right? Mm-hmm. They trained me to be a systems engineer. That's not what they called me. I wasn't a systems engineer. I was a fixed station cryptographic repair technician. Oh, really? Where are you going to find that, right? What I figured out was they were training me to be a systems engineer. I troubleshot everything that came into a building, telephone wires, Wi-Fi, whatever, into a building until it left through your laptop, tablet, whatever, right? Not until I got out did I see, oh, I already did that job, right? And so, but if you're a small arms repair guy, right, that's difficult to translate unless you're going to go work for a armament company, right, or some company that builds, Smith & Wesson or whatever. Maybe that's a possibility. But you've developed mechanical skills that can translate into just about anything, right? So yeah, and with the whole proprietary language of the military, they now have online web tools that you type in your MOS, right? And it says these were the skills for that job. and here are compatible or comparable civilian jobs that meet those requirements. So we share those tools with our veterans, and that helps with the translation. Now you have an idea of what you can do, what could be available to you, right?
Is that good for like the employer too? I feel like employer
100%.
knowing that language and that it's
100%.
different is something that we should be aware of.
It's a great point too, because a lot of civilian companies, right? If you go to them and you're like, oh, you were in the military? Oh, that's great. Everybody has this, TV commercial, movie set image of what military people do. It's like, oh, he's a hard charger, he's squared away, he's organized, and no, we're not. Sometimes we're not. Right? We're all just people like everybody else, right?
Have your skill sets, right?
There's people who are highly organized, and then there's people who figure out like how to do things at the last minute, like myself, right? Right. So, but yeah, civilians too our civilian organizations could definitely use those tools, right? I think they have them so that you can reverse it and see like what skill sets do we need for a particular job, and do those skill sets exist in the military world, right? So there are some people who want to boost their military numbers, like hired military veterans. So whether it's ERGs or HR departments that are trying to boost their military support or their support of veterans, that's one good way that they could do that. So absolutely. There's so many other things too.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yep.
So now I'm going to move to the bigger picture for Roll Call.
Sure.
When you think about our future as an organization and the mentorship program, what do you hope it becomes, and what impact do you hope it has on veterans, employers, and the wider community?
Wow, that's a big question. I want to see us initially perfect what we're doing now, right? I feel like, as I was saying earlier, we're really just kind of getting this ball rolling with the whole mentorship program. I want to see that develop over the next, 2 to 3 years, until we get to the point where, I'd like to get more organizations investing in Roll Call, right? Contributing to our mission so that we can, continue to grow, connect into more either military organizations or the military itself, so that we are recognized as maybe even a first stop, right? Point of contact. So as veterans are leaving the military, I mean, wouldn't it be great? Like Great Lakes says, you got to reach out to Roll Call Chicagoland. If you're planning to stay in this area, this is the organization you need to be connected with. Like, how great would that be, right? So, and the other side of it is that there's so many other partners, and like I found that so many organizations, veteran, organizations that are out there that are kind of doing the same thing that we're doing, and they're all different flavors of the same. But I would love to like either partner with some of those folks, or get them to join our network and grow what Roll Call Chicagoland really is.
Vice versa, right? I mean, like we say, we're stronger together all the time. Like, you guys with who makes sense. When you join together, you have more resources.
Sure.
You're by joining together in community, community's getting larger too, right? And you get to help each other.
Yeah.
From not just like ground level, but the higher up level too. What do you say?
I'm going to circle back to what Matt was saying about working locally, and working at the local level means that we can have a real impact on people's lives. A lot of these other organizations that are doing what we're doing are often working at much larger scales. So they can't have that personalized mentorship piece that we have. And because we are Roll Call Chicagoland, we are this great region supporting the region. And that's far more local than going national. And so it's something that we have that's special, and we have these connections with employers who are here and local. And that's something that it's really hard for these larger organizations to do.
That's a great point too. It's like, how do you expand and grow and maintain that, homegrown kind of look and feel, right? It's almost impossible, right? As like you see this with large corporations that we used to be a 50-person employer, right? And now we're 5,000, and that one employee feels lost in the sea of a large corporation, right? When before, right, and I've been there, you feel like, oh, I'm part of this community, which is a company, but it's so small. It's like, I know the vice president, I know the CEO, right? They walk down the hallways and stuff like that. And now it's like, sometimes it's, oh, those guys are on the third floor and, whatever, have the corner office, and I never see them. And, I'm 6 layers away from, the ownerships and the presidents of the company, and you get lost, right? So, and I think that maybe that's where you're kind of going, right? It's like, how big or how fast do you want to grow, and without losing that personal touch to the veteran? So I think that is important. I think that's what we specialize in, right? Where we can be that first point of contact. And I tell our veterans all the time, call me, right? Yeah. You have my cell phone number, you have, my Calendly link, right? You can set up an appointment with me anytime, right? So it's, I think that is important. So good call out.
Yeah, I love that. When I'm hearing you talk and as a civilian, and I hear you both go back and forth on that, it's like I hear you say, like, a veteran is not a number. We help serve and take care of you here locally in the community.
Correct.
We have other local veterans that are a part of our community that also help you. Like, we work together to help each other. And to me, I think there's a lot of power that more people in our world can learn from.
Sure.
Because I go back to, like, I think the power of local is when we get to connect with each other, we get to collaborate with each other, we get to, we talked about it throughout the show, and it's not transactional, but it's relational.
Yes.
Things happen that are more abundant than we've ever thought of.
Right.
And I never looked at it from this perspective. So I think I appreciate you bringing that to the table. Martin, I appreciate you, just showing up. You're showing up not just for our country when you serve, but you got out and you couldn't help but to continue serving, and now you're serving to help people that maybe have gone similar paths or maybe different paths than you, but they've served our country. That means a lot to us at Love Local Chicagoland. So thank you for being on the show today. I have one last question for you.
I appreciate that.
And this wasn't on the thing, I'm going to the left right now, but I just can't help but to think of a veteran is just getting out of the military, or maybe they've been out for a little bit and they don't know where to go. Yeah. What advice and what next steps to take? Let me be more clear. What advice would you have to them to help support and uplift them?
So here's the thing, right? For a new veteran or somebody who's just getting out, there are hundreds of resources available, whether it's through a veteran-focused organization like Roll Call, right, or government services. There's, like, we even have here today WIOA, right, which is an Illinois organization, like, that helps individuals gain skill sets, right? I took part of that. Had no idea they existed, but through unemployment services, you get connected. Go and reach out to your government organizations, local organizations, which will then take you to either within, like, CETA is here, right? I had no idea that they provide services that they do, and as you learn, like, don't be afraid, just look out there, right? Contact the local government, your town that you live in. Go beyond that to look for volunteer organizations like ourselves, right? There's plenty of resource out there. So again, the veteran, you have to take the first steps. You go out that back door with the military and you are like, adios, you're on your way, right? And now what you have to realize is the military has given you the skill sets you need to be successful. Now you have to use them, right? Like, the sergeant isn't going to guide you through it. The platoon sergeant, not going to guide you through it. A captain, right, not going to be there for you anymore. Now you have to take your own mission on, and you have to accelerate it at your pace. And there's resources out there. You just got to go find them.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, I appreciate the time. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for being on the show, man. I appreciate it. Okay, so I've loved the conversations we've had so far. Noel, both Matt and Martin brought so much to the table from their own perspectives. You're a big fan of our next guest too, Andy Wagner too. Talk to us a little bit about Andy from your perspective.
I am a big fan of Andy, and Andy is the biggest fan of Roll Call. He is, I hate to say cheerleader, but you kind of are our cheerleader, Andy. Andy is the same, he has a similar mindset to how I am. You get some help, you give back. He's always there, he's reliable, he's got the greatest attitude. He was out of work for a while, and you would never have known it by the way he carried himself and the way he dedicated himself to Roll Call and other veterans. And, you know, I know that he's on a contract right now that may continue or may end. And my hope is that Roll Call will be the answer to help him with his next chapter. I love what he does for our community, and I love the energy he brings to every single event. He always shows up, and he is the epitome of what Roll Call is about.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm excited to be part of this conversation and get to know you throughout this process, Andy. She said a lot of great things about you, not just now, but in our prep as well. When we got like who's going to be on this show, and your story and how you show up on a day-to-day basis really stood out to her. Can you take us back to the period when you were searching for work? What was happening in your life and career when you first became involved in Roll Call?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've heard it explained a couple different ways, and you know, they all sound a little bit different, but they really have the same messages, which is it's that transition. It's going from a military career and transitioning that to what that looks like in the civilian world. So I think initially, you know, being young and, you know, knowing everything about the world that I needed to know, my presumption was I'd be able to do that on my own. I really didn't need a community. I left the military. I was taking things back, you know, under my control. And I went out there and I found some opportunities. You know, I thought I knew where I wanted to go, and I thought I understood the path to get to that place. But it became apparent to me rather quickly that everything that I thought I knew were things that I still needed to learn. And I think that's when I reconnected with the veteran community, and that's really what led me to Roll Call and a couple of different veterans organizations that have really been critical in taking me to that next level. It's not about what I can do for myself, and I think this is what Roll Call epitomizes, is what can we do for each other? How can I help my fellow veteran? How can I help those, you know, that maybe have are, you know, embarking on the journey that I've been on, or, you know, need to, you know, access some of the resources that I've been able to locate, and how do I share that with those around me? So I think that's really where Roll Call came into my life, and it's really allowed me not only to take my career to a new level, you know, on a different path than I thought I was going to be going down initially, but it's also allowed me to pay that back. And that's really, you know, to Noel's point, that's the energy that I feel. That's that fire that I bring to Roll Call, is understanding how critical they've been in my development, you know, and really taking me as a person, as a veteran, to a different place, and my career to a new level, and sharing that with those that are, you know, embarking on that journey, or maybe, you know, hitting some of the same roadblocks or passing through some of the same struggles that I passed through. The joy that you get from being able to serve, you know, in that capacity is, you know, it's countless. It's really tough to put a measurement on that, but you see it in the smiles, you see it in the successes, you hear it in the stories. And I think anybody that comes into Roll Call and really invests themselves in that, it's impossible to hide from that energy. And it really, you see that from Noel to Justin. You know, some of the people that were there initially when I joined Roll Call have moved on to different positions, have kind of matured in their career. But you see those people that are filling those roles and not only doing what they had done before, but also expanding it. This is by far the largest collection that I think Roll Call has been involved in, and it's Noel behind that. It's her coordinating the efforts. It's her laying the groundwork for what we do and how we do it.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing.
Andy, what was the most difficult part of going through an extended job search? And how did you stay positive and engaged during that time?
Boy, that's a great question, Noel. Job search is a difficult path. I think many times what we do is we find ourselves in a position with the company in a role, and we feel as though that's where we're supposed to be. This is my forever position, and then all of a sudden, the company's purchased. You have a different leader, either whether it's in the CEO position or as a director of that department, and it affects your position in the company, and all of a sudden where you thought you were going to be for a long time is someplace that you used to be and you no longer are. So I think many times we find ourselves in a position where we're not prepared to make that transition in our career. We presume that where we are is where we're going to stay, and that all of a sudden it's not. So I think many times we find ourselves unprepared for that career shift, whether it's in the same field with a different company or with a different company in a different career path. So I think that the toughest thing is keeping an open mind, right? Keeping an open mind, understanding that these things do not happen overnight. Many times it's a process. It's something where you have to be open-minded to other possibilities. Maybe there's training that you need to do to get yourself up to speed. Maybe there's different things that you haven't done because you were comfortable in that role that are going to be a requirement or necessary if you want to take that next step and find that next great career opportunity. The toughest thing that I found is that silence. You feel like you're existing almost in a vacuum. There's a solitude to being a job seeker. When you're with a company, when you're in a department, when you're part of a team, you're part of something bigger than yourself. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in a position where you're looking for that next great career opportunity. Now it's you. And you have to be the person who searches for those job roles, who finds those companies, identifies companies that are a good fit for your field, for your career path. You have to make those connections. You have to create that resume. You have to coach yourself through the elevator speech and the interview process and what that looks like as a follow-up. So the toughest thing is that isolation that you feel, and understanding that there are resources out there. You're not an island. You're not supposed to be able to do everything well on your own. It's important to rely on your own strengths, but also recognize where some of your shortcomings are and how do you strengthen yourself as a candidate. Yeah. So being patient in that process is important. But as I like to say, it's the combination of patience and persistence, or perseverance, if you will, that really is going to lead to your success. So the other part of that that's difficult, you guys, is the waiting game. There's many times when you'll reach out to somebody over, in an email, or you'll contact them on a phone, through a phone number that you have, somebody that will make a connection on your behalf, and you'll wait for that response to come. You submit an application and you don't hear anything back. Mm-hmm. You have that first or second or third interview and it's crickets. And you don't know, did I say something wrong? Did I present the wrong, position? Did I not answer that question as thoroughly? Or did I give them too much background and maybe they're now wondering if I am who I said I was, or, if we're on the same page and, trying to get to that same place as a job seeker and somebody who's looking to fill a position or create an opening for somebody in that field. Mm-hmm. So it's that ability to be patient, in knowing that it's a process. They may, there's a role that I applied for recently. It's a single role and there were 80 applicants for the role. So it's a process. Mm-hmm. What your resume presents is certainly one facet of that application process, but that interview, did you represent? Did you show up on time? Did you repeat the question? Did you answer the question? Did you ask good questions at the end of it so that you feel like it's a conversation that goes back and forth? But it's that waiting component that can be very difficult, and remaining steadfast and knowing that things happen in their own time, and many times the longer the wait, the sweeter the prize at the end of that conversation.
Yeah, it sounds like you're on an island when you're looking for a job. I know I've experienced that in my own right. And, this is a thread throughout this conversation is that we're better in community. What guidance along the way, maybe you shared some of it, but what guidance and support did the relationships at Roll Call give you to help you get through those times?
I think it's understanding that you're not walking that road alone. You're not, on an island. You're not a single person who's making that journey. There are people that have made that journey before you. There are people that are willing to sit down and mentor you. Martin, brings some of that to the conversation. There are veterans that have transitioned from the military to the civilian world. There are people that have worked in information technology, project management, the different fields that we're trying to get into that are there as a resource for you. And I think the thing that really resonates with me is it's not talking the talk. A lot of people will tell you that, oh, hey, give me a call. I'll introduce you to somebody. We'll have a conversation. We'll work on your LinkedIn profile or your resume, your elevator speech, whatever component of that interview process that you're looking to kind of bolster. You feel like maybe is a little bit short on success, but they walk the walk. They absolutely show up for you. There's times when somebody will tell me that reach out to me. And we'll talk, and I'll get caught up in something else and that, follow up with them. And all of a sudden they're in my inbox, they're in my voicemail, they're on my phone. And Noel's a good example of that. Is somebody who she shows up because it's how she cares. And she demonstrates it's in her actions, and you see the product in the career expos, you see it in the relationships that she builds with employers, with resources, with really creating that veteran community that weaves the pieces together so that everybody is able to leverage the experience and the knowledge and that connection that I think the veteran community brings, regardless of what field you may be in, what branch you might have served in, or kind of where you're at in that career process.
A part of your story is Roll Call began sharing opportunities from employers interested in hiring veterans. How did one of those opportunities help you move forward in information technology and eventually lead you toward the work that you're doing today?
That's a great question. It certainly was a connection that I made at Roll Call that actually led me to a contract role. Not the one that I'm working on now, but the one prior. We had met for the July meetup, and I was looking for work. A gentleman had come in and said that, hey, he's got a company that's looking to hire some contract. It's probably short term, but could lead eventually to a long term role. We connected that Tuesday at Roll Call. By the end of the week, I had an interview. The next week, I had an offer. And by 2 weeks after that initial Roll Call meeting, that conversation at Roll Call turned into an interview, an offer, and I was working on site for a 6-month contract. So that was really a great way to carry me from my last full-time role into what I'm currently doing right now. And it was just a conversation. It was a couple of veterans meeting up on a Tuesday evening. One of them was looking for work. The other was looking for people that were looking for work, and Roll Call was the conduit to put us together.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
They're a connector to support veterans and our local community. So thanks for sharing that.
It is, yeah, you got it.
Andy, what would you say to someone who's currently unemployed, discouraged, or beginning to doubt their value and whether the right opportunity will ever come?
Noel, that's a great question, because I think we've all found ourselves at low points during our career. And it certainly can bleed over into our personal lives and kind of how we view ourselves, and how we get up in the morning and pick ourselves up by the bootstraps and go out there and prepare to do what we need to do to be successful in that work life. But I think the thing that I would probably emphasize to people is, don't be too caught up in what the world views you as a part of a workforce, but understand that we all bring a specific value and experience to what it is that that we're looking for when it comes to that next great career opportunity. The thing that Roll Call did for me is it re-energized me. When I had found Roll Call, I had been looking for work. I had found myself in that very same space. You start to devalue yourself. You start to feel like maybe I'm not good enough for this role, so I'm not good enough for that role. Maybe I'm not good enough for any role. And what Roll Call does is it brings together a collection of people that understand the value that you have as a veteran. And they can layer that over some of the challenges that you're currently facing in the career, looking for that next great career opportunity. And it demonstrates your value as a person. It's what you've contributed to the world, regardless of what your career title, what your job title, or the company that you work for, or how long you've been there. You embody that. Another person that really was critical to keeping me connected to Roll Call was Justin Miller. Justin's another one. He brings the energy. Noel, we feed off of that. We feed off of Justin's enthusiasm, and that starts to become part of who we are, because as a veteran community, we're interwoven with each other. So I think the thing that I would tell people is, never devalue yourself. You may not have been a good fit for the role that you applied for. The company may not have recognized your value, but that was yesterday's job application. That was last week's interview. It's important to get up every day and recognize. You guys, I use an adage. I've got sun in my eyes and breath in my lungs, right? I'm like, I don't have time to complain. I've got things that I need to go make happen. So it's important to recognize that. Take a moment, identify where you have some strengths, recognize that there are always areas for improvement, and never be afraid to take a chance, knowing that there's a community behind you and there's a roll call that's there to support you along every step of the way.
That's amazing, man. I really appreciate you joining us on this conversation today. I appreciate the way you show up. I wrote something that really spoke to me that you said was wisdom comes with experience. And man, if I knew that at a younger age and I actually listened, which would have been a whole other story, I probably would be a lot further along. But I appreciate you sharing your story and your wisdom. And, to me, here at Love Local Chicago, we think stories matter, and all of our stories matter in our own unique way, and we're able to just be real and let it out. We can help other people, and I feel like that's just what you did today, just by coming behind the mics with Noel and I. So thank you.
Yeah, no, definitely appreciate the opportunity. Jason, appreciate what you do. If there's ever anything that we as a roll call, or I as an individual can do to assist you in your process, I'm certainly happy to lend a hand with that as well. Having the story and knowing what you've been through is one thing, but be able to share that, you certainly provide a wonderful medium for being able to give what we know out to the community to kind of benefit everybody involved.
Thank you. It's very much why we built this, is because we think stories matter. We think local matters, and we get to know each other's stories. We could do a lot of great things in our world, even if our stories are different. So I'm hoping that this is just the start of a relationship with Roll Call, where we get to support each other and help each other bring stories to the community that are needed to be heard. Yeah. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Another conduit, right?
Amen.
Yeah.
Stronger together, for sure.
Yeah,
That's something we always say. So
thank you, Andy.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for being a part of this today. I feel like we've had some really good conversations, whether it was Matt, Martin, or Andrew. They all brought their own perspectives that I hope brings value to your community and the community at large. So thank you for being a part of today.
Thank you for having me. I think the three of them represent some different aspects of Roll Call that really mean something to me. First, we have someone that represents a great partner. That's Matt in the village of Hoffman Estates. And then we have Martin, who's a mentor. He dedicates free time after his long work day to helping other veterans, sort out their, transitions in their careers, their job searches. And then we have Andy, who has benefited from Roll Call, but benefits Roll Call. He brings the energy, and I think the three of them represent what our organization is all about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I could see being newer to learning about the organization. I could see why you feel that way, and I think when you have people that are just show up, that's the power. The power of showing up was just not only right here in all this great event that you had today, but you heard it from each of them in their own way. The power of showing up goes a long, long way to being able to build a strong, thriving community. If somebody's looking to connect with Roll Call, how can they connect with you?
Check out our website, rollcallchicagoland.org. Our website is continually improving. Everything from the Crossroads today was there on the website. You can look at all of our upcoming events, see what we're doing, connect with a mentor or become a mentor through our website. And follow us on LinkedIn. We are also on Facebook, but LinkedIn is where we share most of our goings on.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, thank you for collaborating today.
Yeah, it's been a great collaboration. Thank you so much. Yeah. Love Local Chicagoland and Roll Call Chicagoland.
Drop the mic.
Yeah.
But thank you. I hope, not to get too far in the future, but I hope to continue to collaborate to see how we could support the veterans in our community and we could help amplify what you're doing. Because I think what you're building with Roll Call is something really special. And I think the veterans in our community could really thrive by being in your community. So thank you.
I agree. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My friends, we're stronger together. It's not new for any of you listening here that have been a part of our Love Local Chicagoland community. Roll Call Chicago and Noel just demonstrated that. When we work together, when we support each other, when we take the things that we're good at and we go help uplift, we could change our local communities. And by changing our local communities, we could change the world. So what are you doing? Get involved in community and find your people. When you do that and you come with helping hands and in an uplifting way, tomorrow is bright. And I don't know about you, I want a brighter tomorrow than today. Thank you so much for watching. Go check out Roll Call if you're a local veteran or if you just want to learn more so that you could help connect a local veteran to their organization. Very heart-led organization, and that's coming from my own personal time getting to know Noel and some of her members of her community at Roll Call. And I know you won't be disappointed. So thank you so much for watching. Support local, love local, and we're stronger together. Peace.